talk about community engagement in traffic safety education for high school students in Vietnam. Okay, next please. Okay, I can share the slide. Okay, so first of all, I want to talk about the traffic safety issues in Vietnam. So, as you may know, the traffic crash in Vietnam is one of the leading causes of fatalities and injuries of the young people from 5 to 29 years old. And in Vietnam, in general, the traffic crash has been decreased, but the traffic crash involving children are increasing. And among the group of students, the high school student accounts for the highest percentage of traffic crash. So a research from our college, Mr. Mẫn and Dr. Mẫn and Dr. Tuấn, they show it that. So you can see here the traffic crash for the high school student are the highest one. And also in Vietnam, from the age of 16, the student are willing to go to use their personal vehicle like motorcycles illegally occurs and mopeds and bicycle by themselves to go to the school. And most of the crash occur in the road segment and especially in the intersection. And as you can see here, because of a lot of the student use the vehicle by themselves, so most of the crash happen among the rider instead of the billion passengers. So, as you may know, in traffic safety, there are three main reasons. There are three main cases of there are three main cases. So the first one and the most important one is the human errors. So in this slide, I want to talk about the risky behavior among the student, especially the high school student in Vietnam. So a research showed that there are 5 dangerous behavior when the high school student in Vietnam use the vehicles. So they perform improper lane change. They do the dangerous diversions. They make the speeding, over speeding, they make the reckless driving, or they cross the road without looking. And 80% of the high school student, the student from 15 to 18 travel to school on two-wheel vehicles like bicycle, electric bicycle, mopeds, or motorbike illegal. So in Vietnam, in practice, when the student move from the pillion passengers to the riders, most of them use the bicycles. So in Vietnam, the bicycle is the first, we can say, the first personal vehicle of the high school student in Vietnam. After that, they use more or they can use the motorcycles. So most of the teenagers, the high school student in Vietnam, know how to cycling. So in traffic safety, we talk a lot about the safety system approach. So in safety system approach, we have safer people to have safe vehicles to try to improve the safer speed, the safer roads, and even the post-crash care. And traffic safety is a shared responsibilities. It means that the responsibility is not only for the student, but also for the parents, also for the teachers at school, also for the police or the civil servants when they make the enforcement, and also for the experts, the road safety experts. So the communities, of course, we have more than the people we are listing here, but the stakeholder or the community in traffic safety involving the high school student in Vietnam are these peoples. So in traffic safety, we have 4 or 5 E's, right? We talk about 4 or 5 E's to enhance traffic safety, and like education, engineering, evaluation, engagement, etc. And in this research, in this presentation, we really want to focus on traffic safety education. So yeah, as you can see, the phrase I just mentioned, and the current situation of traffic safety in Vietnam, like actually the traffic safety education in Vietnam is not a mandatory subject at school. It is a part of a subject, and it somehow is underestimated. And how about the teaching methods? It's the passive learning and the passive teaching methods. The student just learn by listening the lecturers, by reading the books. Actually, they also join like the campaign every year, but there's no measurement for the effectiveness of these campaigns, and especially there's no localized for the traffic situation for the students, and also lacker application of technologies for the student. So we found that actually the student here they are Gen Z, and they are the digital generation. So the technologies is something is quite popular to them. So we found that there is the need to do to make an innovative traffic safety education in Vietnam, especially in Ho Chi Minh City. So what is innovation? So we base on three dimensions. We talk about innovation. The first thing is about technology. We need to apply the technology to the digital generation. The second thing about the viability, and the third dimension is about the desirability. What the user want, what the user really needs in education, in traffic safety education. So we think about develop a virtual reality cycling platform to use design thinking process. So what is design thinking process, and why is design thinking process should be applied? Design thinking process is a human-centric approach, and it happens to solve many complex problems, and it's a process from empathize, define the problem, ideation, make the prototype, and do the testing. And this is not a linear process. We can do the empathize and define the problem, think about the ideation. If the ideation is not accepted by our target group, we need to do the empathize or define the problem again, and we can make the different types of prototypes, many prototypes, and do the testing. And throughout the process, the user involvement is the must. Yeah, throughout the process, the user involvement is a must. So we apply the design thinking process to develop a virtual reality cycling platform. So first of all, we do the emphasize and define problem step. So for this one, we do the focus group and in-depth interview. Why we need to do the focus group? Because we need to find to have the in-depth understanding about the high school student. For the data, we have for the five most popular risky behavior we have, but we need to know the reason why they do this kind of risky behavior. That's why we need to ask them. We need to do the in-depth interview. We need to do the focus group with the high school student, and we talk about the community and community engagement. We really want to know the idea, the opinion of the other stakeholder. So we ask the parents, we ask the teachers, we ask the police, we ask the experts about their opinion, their perspective to this one. So we apply a theory, very popular theory. We call the theory of planned behavior to know what is the variable, the factors behind the intention of behavior, behind behavior. So that's maybe the attitude toward behavior, maybe the subjective norms, what the people surrounding the high school student think about their behavior, their activities, and maybe about the perceived behavior control. So for this one, we apply the theories, we do the focus group, and we ask them, we ask the student and the parents and other stakeholder, how do they think about the risky behavior of the high school student? And we come up with the many idea and many variables. Like, yeah, we found that the risky behavior they mentioned we already have in the secondary data. But the reason behind this is new one. So the people, the student, uh, reveal that they do the risky behavior because they avoid the uncomfortable feeling of traffic congestion. They avoid the hot weather. They avoid the noise. They need to do the time saving. They need to reduce the stress in school. And they follow their peers. They follow all the road users on the road, etc. And even the presence of the police also affects their risky behavior, something like that. And so from this one, we also have a very interesting finding that most of the students, most of the stakeholders agree that there is a lack of practice in realistic traffic behavior for the student, especially for the teenagers, because from this age they start using their motorcycle illegally, the bicycle, but they just learn traffic safety education in classroom. I mean, there's no training, there's no practical trainings, there are no practical section for them. So yeah, what we conclude, the problem statement is that the student really need to have an innovative learning platform in traffic safety. So what we do next, from the insights, from the finding here, we try to develop, because what we want to apply is that virtual reality, right? And for virtual reality, we can make a virtual traffic environment for the student, because because for the traffic safeties, or when we think about traffic safety, we cannot force the student go to the real life and just say, okay, you can try to cycle, you can do, and maybe it affects their health, the crash maybe happen. So through virtual reality, we can do the virtual traffic environment with local context, so that the student can experience the local context, can experience the different scenarios in which there is the pedestrian present, there is the traffic congestion present, something like that, and they experience, and they can do they can cycling in the virtual reality, and then they can perform, maybe they can perform the risky behavior, but it's not affect their life. They can redo it, make it again and again, yeah, and improve their behavior. So we also want to apply gamification to engage the interest from the student, because the student needs something funny, they need something interesting, and the point, the rate, the level, the challenge, it could be happen in the virtual reality environment with the support of gamification. So from that background, we come up with the ideation phase. And for this phase, we develop virtual reality cycling platform. So we divide it into different scenarios. Like we say here, no enemy. Enemy means that when a student go on the road, there is like a pedestrian crossing the road, they can be an enemy of the student. We say the enemy in the perspective of the game developer. So maybe there is a motorcyclist go ahead and just quick or a motorcyclist move from the small alley. Some scenarios like that one, and we divide it into different level. That's the ideation. And yeah, the student can cycling in the virtual reality environment. So come up with from the ideation, the idea, we come up with the prototypes. For the design thinking, we are encouraged to have different types of prototypes. And even there is a very popular quote, don't fall in love with your prototype. It means that you can make different types of prototype. And when you make the prototype, you need to do the testing. You need to ask the student, the end users about this prototype because they are the end users. They use this kind of prototype. If they don't agree and they don't feel comfortable, they don't willing to use it, we are failed. So we need to improve the prototype. So that's why we don't fall in love with our prototype. So for this project, so far, actually, we have different types of prototype. And here, I just want to mention the two prototype. The first one, because we need to develop a virtual reality environment. So the first one, we try to pick out one specific street and develop from 2D to 3D by different kind of software like SketchUp, Unreal Engine, and then as you can see what we have when we build the 3D and virtual environment. And for when we have this one, yet you can see the environment, and we make to ask the end users. So what we got is us the end users say, okay, the environment is very it's very it look very interesting, but it's not real. It's not Vietnamese style because Vietnamese street is not like that. It's very ideal. So based on this one, we need to develop and like improve the prototype based on the user needs. So the second versions of virtual environment, you can see actually we at that time we use Unity to develop this kind of environment, and we need to do to take the photo of the building of the Vietnamese style, and then we turn from 2D to 3D, and we add the facades to the building in the virtual environment. And what is the result? We have the result, like you see, and we got the very good feedback from the end user. This is Vietnamese style of the traffic environment. Yeah, you can see it's the Vietnamese style because the objective for us when we develop the environment is that it should be the local context. It should be the local traffic environment. So from this one, we get our objective. We got the support from the end users. And then we continue with other technical package when we connect the bicycle to our hardware and software and to make it like a system. And as you can see pictures for our system, the virtual reality cycling system. And I want to show you the platform with the virtual reality environment, what we have so far. After asking the end user, asking the stakeholder many times their opinion, their perspective about this course. So from this one, we got our ambition or objective is that it's very realistic Vietnamese traffic environment, and it's also how the you can see we divide it into different scenarios, and for each type of scenarios, it's also the input from the students. Okay. So for the testing, we not only test the end user, I mean the student in our research, because we want to get the opinion from more than that. So we show our result in different exhibitions in our university, in our city, to get the feedback from the end users, from the students, from the parents of the student, from the local communities. Uh, okay, so I think because of time limitation, so that's all for our sharing.